Okay, here's a wild thought experiment for you. What if the Apostle Paul, the guy who basically wrote the blueprint for the early church, suddenly time traveled to 2026? What would he actually find? Today, we're going to run what you might call a theological audit to figure that out. Let's dive in. So, just picture it for a second. Paul materializes right in the middle of a major city today. What's his first move? Does he look for the biggest church with the best coffee bar and a killer worship band? Well, to have any chance of answering that, we can't just guess. We have to get inside his head and understand the actual source code he was running on.
And that's where we get to the heart of this whole investigation. The idea is that there are two, completely different operating systems for faith. And which one you're running changes everything about the mission. So first up, we have what's called 7th-Day logic. And honestly, this one is probably going to sound pretty familiar. This system kind of sees God as a cosmic service provider. The whole point is self-improvement, using your faith to get a better life, to be more successful, and basically to win at the game of the world as it is now. It's all about making our time here in this sort of temporary exile a little more comfortable.
But then, you've got the 8th-Day logic. And this is a radical shift in perspective. It completely flips the script. It's not about improving your life in the exile. It's about ending the exile. You're no longer a customer looking for better services. No, you've been recruited. You're now an administrator in a new government, and you've been tasked with rebuilding the territory from the ground up. This table just lays out the difference so clearly. I mean, look at the why. Is your faith about making your exile comfortable, or is it about ending it? That's a huge difference. Or how about money? Is it a sign of God's personal favor on you, or is it administrative capital that belongs to the king for his mission? The end result couldn't be more stark. One system creates rich consumers, the other creates royal priests. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? The 7th-Day logic. It takes this incredibly powerful source code of the gospel and just uses it to polish dust, our temporary, fading lives. But the 8th-Day logic? It uses that exact same code to completely transform the hardware, to rebuild us from the inside out for a brand new purpose. So this all sounds great in theory, right? But where can we actually see this 8th-Day signal being broadcast today? Well, it turns out it's not just some abstract idea. It's the engine behind some major global movements. Let's look at a few of them. So you take a group like the Vineyard Movement. Their whole deal is built on the idea that the kingdom isn't just coming later, it has already started breaking in. And if that's true, they expect to see the power of that new reality, things like healing, deliverance, happening right here, right now. For them, it's all about doing the stuff. Then you've got this huge stream within the Anglican Church, which has been massively influenced by the scholar N.T. Wright. He argues that the church is supposed to be a pilot project for the new creation. Their big focus is on things like social justice and liturgy as these really practical ways of expanding the king's just and ordered rule on earth today. And you see it in the New Reformed movement too, with guys like the late Tim Keller. They take this 8th-Day logic right into the marketplace. They argue that all work, whether you're an artist, a coder, a business owner, is actually a priestly calling. It's a chance to bring the order and the beauty of the new creation into your specific field. So if you look at this table, you can see that while their tools might be different, whether it's the power of the Spirit for the vineyard or the restoration of the city for Redeemer, they all agree on the basic fundamental premise. The king has landed, his new administration has already begun, and our mission is to expand his territory.
Okay, so now we have our toolkit. We've got the 8th-Day framework that Paul himself helped write. So armed with this knowledge, what kind of church would he actually look for in 2026? Let's solve this mystery.
Well, if we look at his own letters, the evidence points to a pretty clear checklist. First, he'd go straight into the smog, the places of high chaos, not the safe, comfortable suburbs. Second, he'd be listening for that 8th-Day frequency. Is the message about building a new creation, or is it just more self-help? And third, he'd be looking for a place where all people, from all backgrounds, are truly one, breaking down every single social and racial barrier. So based on that, it becomes pretty clear he wouldn't care one bit about the name on the door. But you have to think he'd probably resonate with groups that are all about demonstrating spiritual power, that are grounded in a really deep structural theology, and that operate with a decentralized, everyone's a priest kind of structure, like you see in a lot of underground house church networks.
But here's the real kicker. Paul wasn't really a church attendee in the way we think of it. He was a kingdom administrator. He would be way less concerned with the quality of the Sunday service and way more focused on the actual work of building and course correcting.
Honestly, he'd probably be auditing the churches, not looking for one to join.
And this whole deep dive into Paul, it isn't just some fun historical exercise. It's really meant to turn the spotlight right back on us. Because those same two operating systems are available for us to install right now, today.
So the final takeaway really comes down to our power source. The 7th-Day system, it's like a really great high-end battery. It can give you a pretty good life, for sure, but it's finite. It's going to run out eventually. The 8th-Day system, on the other hand, plugs you into an infinite power grid. You're sustained by something outside of yourself, and it shifts your entire focus from getting for yourself to administering what you've been given as an heir.
And that really leaves us with a pretty provocative question to think about long after this is over. Which operating system are you running? Thanks for tuning in.